Welcome, baseball family. This week, we're going to talk about Aaron Judge, the London series, and teams that should be buying and selling right now. 9 Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together. Baseball family, thanks for joining us this week on the Baseball Together podcast. I'm Brig, and I'm joined, per the most usual, with the Brad Master. How are you, Brad?
I'm doing well. Getting ready to go on vacation. So
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, it's going to be long and it's going to be fun. So I'm excited. Yeah. I'm doing well.
It'll be great. I'm very excited for you.
Thank you.
You take a deep breath for us. 1, 2, 3 in. 1, 2, 3 out. Aaron Judge could be out for the rest of the year, baseball family.
Yikes.
Nobody has said that officially. We are speculating right out.
There's been a whole lot of speculation coming out of everywhere.
That's right.
By
and
the way,
here's why. Aaron Judge has a torn ligament in his toe. So a sprain is also a ligament injury, which can include up to a tear.
Includes a tear. A tear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. Is a sprain is a ligament tear. It is not a complete and total tear. If somebody tears their Achilles or their patellar tendon, it goes all the way through, and bones and things are, I guess,
not connected.
Achilles
anymore.
is not a ligament. Achilles is a tendon, so that is not fitting. But anyway, you tear a ligament partially, that is a sprain. You tear it completely, that is beyond a sprain. That is a tear.
Right.
But it also includes a minor tear. So Aaron Judge, and what it was is because he was talking to the media and he said something about how many of you in this room have ever had a ligament tear, and everybody was like, wait, hold on, what?
You say what now?
Yeah. So I think what it was is that he was using language that has been used with him as far as an understanding of what exactly he's dealing with. And I think people forget that a sprain can include a ligament tear.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but
good. The problem is that a bruised toe heals a whole lot faster than a torn ligament does.
No doubt.
That is why it's taking so much longer, is because, like I said, it's easy to forget that a sprain is a partially torn ligament.
Yeah.
Because one is way more severe sounding than the other.
That's right. Aaron Boone is saying that there's a chance he could still come back, but he's not going to guarantee anything. The question then remains, what in the world does this mean for the Yankees? Let's war game if he's done. That's what I want to know first, Brad. If he's done for the season, what does this mean for the Bombers?
If he's done for the season, fortunately for them, it's before the trade deadline. So what they can do is they can make a move, right? They can be like, okay, we're not going to replace Aaron Judge because nobody can replace Aaron Judge. And anybody who can replace Aaron Judge is not going to be available for what we're willing to trade, right? But what they can do is I feel like they can bring in a guy who can be a legitimately serviceable offensive player. When they have pretty good, I feel like they have pretty good defensive players out there, right? The outfield isn't bad defensively now that Aaron Hicks is gone.
No, it's horrible.
Is it?
Actually, yeah.
Is it because Bader can't stay healthy?
Well, that's part of the problem, because Bader's a terrific defensive piece, and he's an amazing offensive piece. It's the guys they've got platooning in and out of that outfield, especially in left field. When IKF is one of your most productive defensive outfielders and he's a true middle infielder, that's a problem.
That's true. That is a problem. You're right. That is a big time problem.
Anyway.
So I think they will end up making a move for an outfielder though.
Oh yeah. Do you think this excludes them from the playoffs potentially if he's out for the season?
I think it could. I mean, it's not unreal to think that, because you look at the current playoff picture. Let me pull this up real quick.
I've got it right now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now they're in the 6th seed.
So they're still in the playoff picture though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
6 of 6, by the way, baseball family.
Right. Yeah. Because the other team who's right behind them, the Angels.
That's number 5. Yeah.
Oh, are they number 5 right now?
The Angels are number 5 right now. It would go down to the wild card situation, which at this point stands.
So hold on, Brig. What are you looking at right now? Because I have the Yankees at 5 and the Angels at.
Oh,
8.
you're right. You're right. It switched.
Okay.
Switched
Yeah,
on
so
me.
the Yankees are sitting at 5. Houston is
Yeah.
on the outside looking in, but the
That's
Angels
what
are
it
only
is.
half a game back behind them. And then another 2 games back behind them is Boston. And then another
Yeah, I've
game and a
got them
half,
at
you've got
3 games back.
Seattle. So
Yeah.
within 5 games of the third wild card spot, you have Houston, the Angels. I refuse to call them the LA Angels to this day, continually.
Me too.
Then Boston, Seattle, and then Cleveland. All within 5 games. And so 5 games is not insurmountable by any of those teams. Heck, Toronto, or not Detroit, but Detroit could go on a tear. They won't.
It's
but
true.
they're only
They
8.5
could.
out, right?
Right. They're not mathematically eliminated by any stretch.
Yeah. So a lot can happen with 81 games left to go in the season. Because we've seen it happen the last 3-4 years. Every year it's happened.
Yeah.
With somebody.
I agree.
So if they don't make the right move, they could find themselves on the outside looking in very easily. If they do find the right guy, though, who knows? Maybe they'll catch the Rays. Not that far back.
Think so? Hold on.
If things click, I'm not saying they will, but I'm just saying that the Rays are not who we thought they were.
That's true. That I agree with.
They're not world beaters. They're catchable, and I think the Orioles are going to catch them.
Yeah. You think so?
I'll save that for my second half meaningless predictions.
All right, cool.
But anyway.
Because I feel the same way.
What do you think, though, Brig? As the Yankee fan, the one who watches this team way more often than I do, like, what do you think could happen from here on out?
I think I've made this clear before that Aaron Judge appears to be responsible for like 50 or more percent of the offensive production that the team has experienced up till now. And
for whatever reason.
It's insane. And it's not just that, like, you can look at it in terms of empirical data when he's playing versus when he's not, but it's also that the other guys around him seem to play better when he's there, and now they're playing poorly without him there.
They're like 28th or 29th in runs per game, and I want to say last in Major League Baseball in OPS when he's not playing.
That's right.
Crazy.
Yeah, but their bullpen is fantastic when it's clicking. So all is not lost, but we need here's the problem, man. And I think I said this last time, is the big boys have to come in and do their job, and they're not. DJ LeMahieu slumping, maybe injured. Yeah. Nobody said he's injured but me, but he's slumping. Big G, he just wait. I'll save it. But there's some stuff that needs to freaking happen, and it's got to be in terms of offensive production and minimizing defensive liability, specifically in the outfield. Okay.
All right. And we can get a little bit more into it even later on. So
we're going to do that. Anyway. All right. The London series. London series happened over the weekend. Paul Goldschmidt became the first player to play a regular season game in 5 countries. He's been in the U.S., Canada, Japan, Mexico, and now England. I think that the previous record was 4. Was it Randy Arozarena who previously held the record at 4?
I can't remember. I know that Xander Bogaerts homered in 5 countries, right? Is that what it was?
That must have been what it was. I'm remembering now. Yeah.
But I guess maybe it was 4 countries with Xander Bogaerts. Because I
think it was 4 countries.
Because if Goldie's first got to play at 5, would have been Xander Bogaerts before. But yeah, I think he was the first to homer in 4 is what it was.
The Cubs won game 1, Cards won game 2. Was it?
It's 7-5 in game 2. It's 9-1 in game 1. Right. 7-5 in game 2. I don't feel like there were nearly as many homers as last time. Actually, no. It's not that I don't feel like there wasn't.
No, there wasn't.
But second game,
a ton of runs. Still.
Yeah, the thing that's funny that I find funny about that is like the old adage is, well, pitching travels. Apparently not across the pond.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was my question. Like, what's happening? Is this a jet lag situation? And why, if that's the case, is it only accounting for half of the team's capabilities?
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm not sure what it is, but it's weird that for some reason guys can't pitch because there were only three home runs in between the two games, and those were in the first game.
Now, is that because neither team is, touting a ton of pop right now? Like I can't think of any real bangers on either team.
Well, I would have expected Goldie to go yard at least once while he's there, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But,
anyway, that's
yeah,
interesting.
I don't know. It could be.
Do you think this is good for the game or not?
This is the thing that's really interesting about it is that, like, yes, it's good to like go international with these games and get the international exposure, and for people in other countries to see Major League Baseball in town, right? The problem is, I was reading an article about this before. It said that in 2019, the first time they did this, the majority of people who went to the game were expats,
service members.
Yep, U.S. military and people who came from the States across to watch the game.
Right.
Very little local Brits came to the game. And it's like, that's who this is for.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because, like in this case, Cardinals fans and Cubs fans are like, we'll travel to the moon for baseball, right? Same thing with the Yankees and Red Sox fans. We'll travel to the moon for baseball.
Totally.
And I'm not saying like send a team that isn't going to travel, because you're going to have a group of people for any team who are going to travel, who go to the moon to watch their team play baseball. But maybe what you need to do is limit ticket sales to a certain point to the UK. Be like, okay, we want to sell as many tickets as we can in the UK before they go on sale in the US. And yes, I know you can get a VPN, you can spoof it, and you can be buying from anywhere. I understand that. But still, make people jump through the hoops and go through the effort if that's what they want to do. Don't go, okay, tickets are all on sale for worldwide. Everybody can get maybe even limit it to like people in the US can't buy tickets until a certain day.
Right.
Yeah. Because you want to get the international audience there.
And then you could do price incentives as well, right? If it's cheaper, if you live there, if you're locals only prices. You see that at restaurants all the time. Locals only menus, locals only prices.
Disneyland, man.
Yeah, exactly. You could do that in these international series, and I think it would work just fine. But I agree with you. I think it definitely is good for the game, but we need to see more effort on the part of the organization to make it accessible and not just a pageant.
Because those tickets are ridiculously expensive,
right? And it's just not the same.
And they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be for the locals. No. It needs to be accessible. And yeah, you're right. It's a pageant. It's not outreach. It's just a show, and it shouldn't be. It should be a whole lot more than that. And it really bums me out.
Me too. Let's talk about something that is not bumming us out, though. Elly De La Cruz hits for the cycle Friday night, his 15th career game with the Reds. As far as we're concerned, it's his 15th career game ever, by the way, in case you didn't know. The Reds came back against the Braves in this one, which was it just sweetened the deal even better for Cincy fans, because the Braves are beaters right now. They are just...
Yeah.
They're an incredibly well-rounded ball club, and they have got it going all the way on. So for them to be,
this is the thing that, like, this whole series all weekend, like the Braves would jump out to a pretty big lead, early on, because that's kind of what they do. But then the Reds would come back and make it a game. They came back and won game 1, and then they lost game 2 and 3 by 1 run each.
Right, and they were tight.
I think that said a lot about the Reds, that not only are they good, but they fight. They really fight hard.
And they're having fun.
Did you see the text I sent you after this game, the picture I sent you, the screenshot?
Yes. Oh, man.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
All right.
So that was off of the Jonathan India single that tied the game.
Yeah.
But I was like pretty pumped for the Reds, pretty pumped about winning. So yeah,
super cool.
Anyway,
Brad's investments are going very well right now.
Yeah, I'm buying in on the Reds. Are you buying in on the Reds, Brig?
Yeah, I am.
They're legit.
That was their 12th in a row, which hasn't been done since 18, 18. So I think the last time the Reds won 12 in a row, the British burned down the Capitol. So
I think that they beat the Yonkers batsmen for that 12th win, I think is what happened.
Right. Exactly. They did lose Saturday. That ended the streak. Brad already told you about that. But yes, I'm buying in on the Reds. I'm very excited about them. And
very
hope
excited.
to see. Very excited. Super nice. Loving it so much. And I love that they are firmly in that leadership role in their division. And if the season ended today, they'd go to the playoffs. That's awesome for them.
Amazing.
Now, let's move on because I called this one.
You did.
Spot on. I'm super upset that I was right, which I don't say very often, but this is so disappointing. The Friars lost the series to the Nationals 2-1. The Padres have no business losing a series to Washington. They just don't. Xander Bogaerts is not happy. And how could he possibly be
for good reason.
Happy?
He shouldn't be.
He says, come on, man, we're playing the Nationals. I don't think they have playoff aspirations. They obviously have a young team, and they fight. They do fight, but I wouldn't say anyone picked the Nationals to be in the playoffs. So you have to beat the teams that you have to beat. Duh.
We say it all the time, though, that
that's right.
You've got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. That you can only beat who's in front of you. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, look who they beat. Yeah, they're supposed to beat those teams, but the Padres aren't even doing that these days.
No, they're not. So the Nationals are 30-47. And that puts them firmly in the poop tier, by the way. The Padres are 37-41. They're the third highest payroll in Major League Baseball. And right now, they're acting like they belong in the poop tier as well.
They really are.
And I don't get it. It's so upsetting. So, okay, Brad, here the question is, how long do you wait to start shipping guys out of there and selling them off?
It's got to happen soon, I would think. It's like, because we talked about the whole Bally thing, or I talked about the whole Bally thing while you were gone a couple weeks ago.
You did.
About how they're not getting money because Bally's going bankrupt. And so they don't have a lot of the money coming in that I'm sure that they were expecting to help with payroll this year. So it's like, well, we don't have the money we thought we were going to have. We are a small market team, and this team is underperforming. What do we do? You've got to get rid of guys. You've got almost a month before the trade deadline comes, and you would have people lining up at your door to take any of those guys off your hands. Get rid of Juan Soto because you're going to have to pay him in a couple years. And he's come back to being somewhat of the former Juan Soto.
Closer.
Closer. Yeah. He's an easy guy to get rid of. He has a lot of trade value, and he's going to bring a lot of stuff back to you because people are not going to be worried about his current contract. I think you got to figure out a way to maybe move Jake Cronenworth.
Dude, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That is a sting, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only way you can keep Machado and Tatis, and I think even with the issues that Tatis has brought the last couple of years, you've got to keep him around because he moves the needle.
You got to. Well, and he sells tickets, right?
Well, yeah, that's the needle that he moves.
That's the one. Yeah. And Machado, he's going to be there.
Talking about the other needle.
Which the syringe? Are you talking about the hypodermic needle? Yeah. Oh, he moves the needle. Oh man,
that pun was not intended. That was a happy accident.
That was. I don't care what you call it. It was magnificent. Okay. Well, we'll get into who they should trade off and what they should do later, but I'm with you. Fire sale begins. Wait for it. Now. Okay. The Angels totally took a wrecking ball to the Rockies on Saturday night. They put up 25 runs and somehow didn't shut out the Rocks. The Rocks came back with 1 run after a 23-0 lead in 4 innings of play. And this was astonishing. 25 runs sets a new franchise record for the Angels. And if you're curious, the modern day record for most runs scored in a game is 30. The Rangers did it versus Baltimore August 2007. The final score of that game was 30-3. The Rangers scored all 30 after going down 3-0 in the first 3 innings.
I thought that was amazing. So
That's
funny. 30
amazing.
unanswered runs. How does that happen in life? I don't know.
I have no idea. And in only 7 innings. That's a lot of offensive production.
6 innings.
Sorry, 6 innings. Yeah, sorry. I can math right now. It's fine. The all-time record, if you're wondering, by Chicago Colts. The Chicago Colts beat the Louisville Colonels 36-7 in June of 1897. Barry McCormick went 6 for 6 with a home run, and he only hit 2 home runs that year, by the way. That's a fun fact for you. In 1897, Barry McCormick only hit 2 home runs, and one of them was on the day that they beat everybody 36-7. Okay, a couple other details about the series in Denver. The Ohtani went 1 for 7
on that day, on Saturday, the day that I said he was going to hit a homer. Went 1 for 7, was pretty much the only guy on the team to not hit a homer.
And you bet on him to do it.
I did.
Yeah.
He hit one the day before. And
right.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Here's the best part for me, and that's why I got distracted on the last bullet point, because this is just baseball family. I want to know what you think of this. After all of that, the Angels lost the series. The Rockies went on. They won the series. They bounced back on Sunday. I mean, come on. This is abysmal.
It's baseball season.
It's not just baseball season, Brad. This is so embarrassing that they can put up historic numbers and still be.
So I joke sometimes when I see like if the Mariners come out and they score like 10 runs in the first like 2-3 innings, right? I'm always like, okay, put those bats away, and get out your next in line, because every bat only has a certain number of hits in it,
right?
So I wonder if they just kept using the same bats. And Mike Trout only got 3 at bats in that game, by the way. But like, put those bats away, get the new ones, and they didn't do that. They kept using the same bats over and over again. They pounded out, I think it was like 27 hits. They didn't have any for the next day.
Yeah,
only got so many.
So this begs the questions kind of flying around, and I know Brad wants an answer to this. Should Major League Baseball have any kind of mercy rule to help save pitchers and their arms in situations like this, where resistance seems to be futile once a team puts up 20?
Yeah, it was 23-0 after like 3 innings.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's the problem with a mercy rule. Well, there's a lot of problems with a mercy rule, but one of them comes down to fan experience. I don't care if you're not. What are you going to refund the tickets? What are you going to prorate the tickets for the 7 innings you didn't get? You know, like, you can't, what are you going to do? Because you can't cheat the fans out of their purchase.
So you're not. So this is what I think. You're not cheating anybody out of a fan experience. You've got to go at least 7. You've got to play them. Okay. Because if it's 23-0 after 3, granted, the chances of coming back are like next to none. But it's baseball. They exist. They always exist. There's always a chance. It's like, hey, they put up 23 in 3 innings. Yeah, that means we have 6 more innings to put up 23. Let's get to it. You know, I've been on a team that's done that before. Granted, it was high school summer league baseball and pitching is optional. But at the same time, though, like, if they did it, you can do it.
Sure.
You know, so this is the thing. Like, you've got to play some innings. You can't just like have a drop dead differential, right?
Yeah.
The World Baseball Classic is 15 runs after 5, 10 runs after 7. I think if you go 15 runs after 7, I don't think anybody's going to have any hard feelings about that. And I know, like, I was listening to Samson today. He was talking about how the players union won't even listen to a mercy rule because they want to have the opportunity to pad their stats.
Of course.
And he's like, but we know. He's like, if you're hitting a grand slam off a position player in the 9th inning, he's like, we're not even going to count that towards A, you getting paid, or B, signing you as a free agent. Like, that has zero like accounts for nothing. So I don't feel like you can really argue that a whole lot. But I think where the argument comes in is that you don't want to throw a position player out there in the ninth. You would prefer not to.
Everybody would prefer not to.
Right. And if you're using your bullpen through the eighth inning, you're burning up arms for the next couple days. You don't want to do that. So at the very least, you're only throwing your bullpen through the sixth. If you want to throw a position player out there in the seventh, that's fine. Right?
Yeah.
But you're saving your pitchers for 2 innings by cutting it off at the seventh. And like I said, I feel like 15 runs after 7 is enough where you're like, okay, they're not going to come back, and it's insurmountable. And I don't feel like the fans are getting robbed at all either at that point, because like you and I, we were at a game where there was a mercy rule, World Baseball Classic, U.S. against Canada. We got our money's worth the first 2 innings. I was thrilled.
That's true.
And by the time it got to be the 7th inning, we were in our seats for literally 3 outs. The top of the 7th inning, we were in our seats, and it was like, oh shoot, game's over. Well, okay, we left. I wasn't upset at all.
Nah, I wasn't either, actually.
Because
I got to be honest with you, though, it was an exhibition match, and I think that's what's different. The purist in me sort of rankles at the like, I don't like it.
Yeah, and I can see that, but I do feel like at the same time, though, how many people are going to leave 5th, 6th, 7th, maybe 8th inning if their team is down 15 runs? How many people are leaving anyway?
A certain percentage are already leaving anyway.
That's a large percentage will be out the door because they want to beat traffic and they don't want to sit around and watch their team get beat. Or even if your team is up by 15, you're like, well, let's beat traffic. This one's in hand. Let's get out of here. Right? There's a certain segment of the population who will do that. Not me personally.
Right. I don't leave
my money's worth.
Yeah.
But if they tell me the game is over, I'll leave.
Yeah.
And I'll be okay. That's fine. I got to see lots and lots of offense today. No big deal.
Yeah.
I got to see 15 runs at least.
I can see this change coming over the next, 10 years. Sometime in the next 10 years, I can see it coming. However, I still hate it. The end. I know why it's a good idea, but I don't think I'm just not there. I'm just
know what else you hated, Brig?
It. Yes, I know. All of it. Pitch clock, robot umpires, friggin' mound visit thing. I hated all the changes. So far, they've all been great.
Around and we'll see what you think about it.
That's right. Tell us about fantasy updates, Brad, really quick.
All right, let's get into fantasy. Okay, so this is our Week 12 update. Brig, we're going to start with you.
Oh, boy.
Rigor Mortis went up against Denise, the North Chicago Baseball Together podcast host. She is Grace Under Fire, and she eked one out here. 514 to 503. Her top performer, once again, was Frederick Freeman. Brig, yours was Luis Arias. He's got to be like killing it for you.
He's hitting 400 for me. I got to be honest with you. I was at a concert on Saturday night and totally forgot to update my pitching roster for Sunday, and I left 15 points on the board.
That sucks.
That's what would have done it. And I got to be honest, I'm not sad because I had a better time than my fantasy team did. But it was like this once in a lifetime opportunity for me that I will never ever regret missing whatever I missed for it, and that was one of them.
Yeah, I don't blame.
Anyway,
I've been there,
but that's why I lost. Indie Rock is why I lost.
And then our next matchup was not another fantasy team. That's Jason. He is a co-host of the Philly Baseball Together podcast against Devastation Incorporated. That is Mike, our listener participant. Mike won that one 583 to 455. His top performer was Matt Olson, who was crushing the ball this weekend. He hit like 3 home runs against the Reds, and they needed every single one of them. And then Jason's top performer was Nathaniel Lowe with 73 points. Our next matchup, we have Big League Chupacabra. That is Jewel, my co-host from the Seattle Baseball Together podcast. And then Burns Turner Overdrive. That is Tori, Jason's co-host. Jewel won this one 642 to 567. He was the high scorer of the week, which I kind of expect every week based on his record. Anyway.
No kidding. Yeah.
His top scorer, believe it or not, Brig, was Jake Cronenworth with 72 points.
Wow.
And Tori's was Christian Walker with 82 points. He was the top performer of the entire week, Christian Walker.
Christian Walker was.
He's having a year, man. He's He's having a really good year this year.
That's amazing.
Then the last one, that was me, Julio Think You Are, against Harrisburg Charlies. That is John. I won this one 416 to 304.
Yeah,
My
you
top
did.
performer was Ketel Marte with 65 points. His was Vlad Guerrero Jr. the third with 81 points. I would not have beat anybody else this week. Not at all.
Nope. But you just got there.
That's
very
exciting.
right.
I don't have to change my team name yet. So,
well,
there we go.
We were all excited for you to change your team name, but you know what? I guess you're just going to have to wait. Baseball family, before we take a break, I got to let you know a couple things. When we come back, we are going to talk about teams that should be buying and selling across both American and National Leagues. But before we go, I don't know if you've noticed, but we always ask what you think about the topics that we bring up on the show, right? Now there's a really quick, really easy way to share your thoughts with us. We've partnered with Versus Game to bring you games where you can make money from participating in polls and in trivia, which is what we love to do anyway. So if you're on the winning side of a poll or a trivia question that you get right, then you can win real dollar bills. That's real money.
Actual dollar bills.
Correct. You can play for free on the app, or you can buy tickets in bundles, and you can play against other players, including us, if you would like, and other Versus Game users. So head over to btpod.onversus.com on your mobile browser. That lets you sign up, and you can play our polls and other people's polls, but you can play ours and our trivia games. That's btpod.onversus.com. Sign up and play Versus games with us. And with that, we're going to take a break. When we get back, let's talk trades.
Welcome back, baseball family. Here we are. We're going to get into who we think should be buying or selling before the trade deadline. We are at exactly the halfway point. Most teams have played 81 games. I'm sure there's a couple who have played less, maybe a couple have played more, but we're at halfway point, so we thought this would be a good time to do this about a month away from the trade deadline. Hopefully, we're really hoping that pretty soon we're going to see a lot more movement as far as trades go, because we saw one the other day where the Rockies traded Mike Moustakas after that blowout. They're kind of, I wonder if they're like, he's not helping us at all.
See ya.
So we saw that trade. We saw the Mets move Escobar, I believe who it was, to the Angels as well. So I'm fascinated to see what some of these teams do. So Brig and I are going to decide whether we think they should be buying or selling as the trade deadline approaches. We're going to start, as we always do, in the American League East, and we will work our way west. And then we'll get to the National League. We'll do the same. So Brig, let's talk about the Rays. First things first. They are 54-27 going into Monday. All this information is going into Monday. 5-5 in their last 10, 29-16 against teams above 500, and they're leading the division by 4.5 games.
Yeah.
Are you buying or selling if you're the Rays?
I'm buying.
What kind of move do you think the Rays need to make?
They need some pitching depth. And I don't know if it needs to be in starting rotation or in the bullpen, but I feel like it's in the bullpen. But a little bit of offensive pop wouldn't hurt either on the days where other guys need a break or they are having a rough go.
Or they've been sat down because they're being a bad teammate.
There you go. Yeah. But you're going to hear me say relief pitching is going to be a big deal and starting pitching is going to be a big deal because I feel like the really solid pitchers are spread out pretty wide across the league right now. And so as we see the two sort of playoff bound versus playoff unhopefuls kind of fracture and split more and more, which is rapidly approaching, then we're going to see teams that just need to let go of some of their pitchers because other teams going to need them. So I'm going to say that a lot tonight.
Yeah, I think you're right. Honestly, if I'm the Rays, if I have the option, like I feel like I'm holding. I know that I said that this team has its issues, but at the same time, though, those issues have not come up too much this year. Every once in a while, I get Jose Siri who drops a routine fly ball.
Yeah, that's true.
I think overall that team is put together really well. And yeah, I think you're right though. Maybe you trade for an outfielder who you can
Yeah.
platoon offensively.
Yeah. Okay, but a couple of trade targets I see potentially for the Rays in the pitching arena would be like Michael Lorenzen from Detroit would be an
Ooh.
example. Because Detroit, they're not going anywhere.
Right.
Cleveland has a couple of pitchers that they, depending on how they decide to play this, whether they're going to buy or sell it toward the deadline, they've got some pitching like Shane Bieber. They could offload Shane Bieber. They could offload Eli Morgan. I think that's the other guy I was thinking of. They could offload some of these guys that would really benefit a bunch of other teams. It's just going to depend on whether Cleveland's baseball club is going to want to play ball or not.
Yeah, I think you're right. Those are excellent points. We could see that from them. Okay, let's move on to the Orioles. 47-29, 5-5 in their last 10, 23-19 against teams over 500. Second in the division, 4.5 games back. You buying or selling if you're the Orioles? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what you got to do.
I'm buying.
Right? Yeah,
I'm
absolutely buying.
Yeah.
And for me,
what are you going to try and buy?
I got to try to get one more starting pitcher if I'm the Orioles.
Yeah.
You can't have Cole Irvin trotting out there and trying to win a series with him, or even trying to have him win a crucial game down the stretch, because it's not happening.
I agree. I'd like to also see one more utility bat would be really nice to see, but that would be easily my second priority. Right now, you have to get another solid starter, and I'll go back. Shane Bieber, Giolito's available. I'm not sure he's the best option, but he could be available.
Probably will be.
You could pick up Corbin Burns if the Brewers might get rid of him.
The thing is, the Brewers are in a weak division, so I don't know if they're going to be getting rid of anybody necessarily.
I know,
but I don't know. I mean,
but
he's getting close to hitting free agency, so I don't know if they're going to want to pay him, because they wouldn't even pay him in arbitration. So
that's true. There's guys all over the place that you could pick up. So if you're Baltimore, you're buying. No questions asked.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the Yankees. We talked a little bit about this. 43-35 going into Monday. 4-6 in the last 10, 28-27 against teams with a record over 500. 9.5 games back in the division for third place, but they're half a game up on the wild card. With Aaron Judge out, potentially at least extended, or the rest of the year, we buying or selling?
You're doing both, Brad.
So I've seen a lot of talk about this, that you a buy sell trade where you're selling on this year but you're buying for next year. Is that what you're doing this year with the Yankees? Okay.
No. I think you're selling off the guys that aren't working, and you lose a little bit of farm value in the process to bring in contenders, because I think this team has what it takes. And we're going to know if you give them 6 weeks to mesh. At least you have but at this point, coming up to the deadline, depending on what moves they make, we'll know if they want to play or not. We just will.
Right.
If they keep Josh Donaldson on the active roster, we'll know that they don't want to play ball. But they just had a meeting with Aaron Boone. Donaldson had a meeting with Aaron Boone, and they came out patting each other on the back, apparently, and saying he's going to play a lot. What? Why? Why?
Because you can't increase a guy's trade value if he's sitting on the bench.
That's exactly why. That is exactly why. You know who else needs to go? Is Big G. Get Giancarlo Stanton out of there, because he's clearly not capable of doing this. I know somebody's going to have to pick up a big bill for that, or the Yankees are going to have to eat part of his salary or all of it to get him out of there. But what if they can offload part of his salary and get him out? I think two things are going to happen. One, it'll bring in a slot and some value to play with on the Yankees side. And two, he is going to come alive somewhere else. Something about the Yankees club is not working systemically. I don't know what it is.
It's a lot of pressure to play in New York, and not everybody can do it. The fact,
Right.
like, I feel like that's one place that Derek Jeter gets a lot of credit, is the fact that he was able to play at such a high level for so long in New
Yeah.
York,
Yeah.
despite anything and everything. So Stanton has 5 more years on his contract.
Yeah.
Two of those years are going to be paid mostly by the Marlins, and then there's an option left after 2028.
So
Or
I think
2027, it looks like. So
if he's smart, he bails at the first opportunity because he's going to be happier and he's going to play better elsewhere. I just get that sense at this point. And then the Yankees have got to pick up some starting pitching opportunities. Their depth in the bullpen is fine. They need defense and offensive help so bad. The outfield is in shambles. And if they're not going to pick up, the right pieces for a push through the postseason, then you got to bring up the young guys and start letting them tinker. You have to.
So you think if they don't make any moves, like any moves at all going into the trade deadline, you think that it's going to be September call-ups?
Maybe not even September, maybe August. Like, really let the kids tinker. No. Because if you're not going to make any big moves, all you're going to be doing is being a thorn in everybody else's side. They're going to make the playoffs. Hopefully they'll make the playoffs, I guess. I don't know that they're going to at this point. It doesn't look clear. Anyway, I could go on and on. I think you
4 and 6 in your last 10 doesn't look like you're heading the right direction.
No, you buy and sell, and depending on the moves, you know, it'll tell the fan base what you're thinking.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Blue Jays.
Okay.
43 and 36, 5 and 5 in their last 10, 24 and 30 against teams with a record over 500. 10 games back in the division for 4th place, sitting in that last wild card spot, 0 games back in the wild card. What are you doing if you're the Blue Jays, buying or selling? I mean, I think that honestly, everybody in the AL East, because of where they're sitting in the playoff race and the wild card race, they can all buy, right?
Yeah, so they can all buy.
I think we can say that safely with the Blue Jays. So what kind of move are you thinking with the Blue Jays, though?
This is another one where you got to offload some talent to bring in some different pieces that may be a little more fresh. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. I think you get rid of Heineman at the catcher spot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. You think about getting rid of Alek Manoah as well.
He's not. You can't move him. Nobody's going to take him. He's down in the Florida Complex League still.
Okay. Well, see, there you go. He's useless. I was right.
So how about this? How about this? What if you've got a pretty stacked outfield?
Totally.
What if Kevin Kiermaier is your trade piece to bring in a pitcher?
Sure.
Because I think there are a lot of teams that would take him as far as like a DH even, or an outfielder, right?
Yeah,
definitely the bat.
Totally. Yeah.
And would give up a really good pitcher for it. You know,
I agree.
So I wonder if he's your trade piece.
And who has the need with the goods to swap?
Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, Seattle really does. I want to say Cleveland might fit that category as well. I know the White Sox do.
Yeah, I think we'll get there in a little bit, but I don't know that that's necessarily a move the White Sox would make. Maybe Cleveland, if they feel like Kiermaier put them over the top,
right,
to really contend with the Twins, I think they would do it.
Yeah.
But they love their pitchers, and I mean, you could probably get Bieber.
Yeah, you could probably get Bieber,
but that's like it, you know. And I'm not like thumbing my nose at Bieber or anything, but you're definitely not going to
be the easiest one to move. Yeah.
Okay, Red Sox 40 and 39, 6 and 4 in their last 10, 28 and 24 against teams with winning record, 13 games back in the division that puts them in last place despite being over 500, and 3 games back in the wild card. You're buying because you're contending in the wild card. I don't even know what to do with this team, though, to be honest with you.
I don't either. Because to me, it's what are we playing for today, or are we going to make a good shot at tomorrow? That's the real question.
Yeah. Well, and to me, it's like, okay, you need a shortstop, but you need a shortstop this year. You don't need one next year, right? And so you bring in a shortstop, you can move Kike Hernandez to his natural position in the outfield where he's way more effective, and then he can be better. Okay, but now you've got some issues with pitching, like
big ones.
You know, and I don't feel like they're in a position where it makes sense to sell, even though they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they're in the thick of it.
Yeah,
that's so weird. Confusing. They're such a weird team.
Everything's crazy now. And in any other division, we would be having a different conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
I don't know.
Could you imagine if they were in the AL Central?
Oh.
We'd just be like, hold. Not going anywhere, but hold.
Don't do anything. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, going to win the division. Be crazy. Going to make the playoffs.
Every year. It's going to be fine.
Hold steady because it's working well enough.
It's working. Yeah, that's the problem is what they got going on is working. It's just not working fast enough, and it's everybody else. It's because of the division. Anyway, all right. What do you think? You could think the same thing?
Yeah. I don't know what to do with them. It's confusing. I don't think you can sell just because you've got the good pieces for next year when you're not dealing with injuries. And then, but you have, Devers. I guess he just signed a long-term deal, so he's
there forever.
So yeah. So just hold and play for next year. That's what you're gonna do with the Red Sox. Yeah. Okay, on to the AL Central. The Twinkies, the Twins, 40-39. Finally back up over 500. 5-5 in their last 10. 20-23 against teams with a record over 500, leading the division by 2 games. What should the Twins be doing? Do they need to buy, sell, or we'll just add hold in there, Brig? Do the Twins buy, sell, or hold?
They buy.
What are they buying?
They're buying a first baseman, and if they can get an outfield / DH option, they do that. And it might be one or the other, but if you can do both, you're going to be in better shape. Where did Joey Gallo go? That's the real question. Because Joey Gallo was doing fine, and then he slumped or got hurt. I don't even know what happened. And then it was all of a sudden just
no more Joey Gallo.
No more Joey Gallo.
You know who the Twins need to bring back. And it's I feel really funny saying this. Because at least once a week in our little text feed, Jewel tells me the Mariners need to bring back Nelson Cruz.
Nelly Cruz.
They don't need to bring him back. But you know who does? Is the Twins.
He could really help.
The Twins could use him.
Yeah, he really could. There's another first baseman available. Let me see if I can figure out who it is. Because
you put him in that DH slot and you're good to go. And I know things have not gone super well in San Diego, but they're not going super well for anybody right now. So you give him a change of scenery, get him back somewhere where he was played pretty well in Minnesota.
Yeah. That's a great choice.
And I think it'd be all right.
I don't hate that. And you
don't have to give up a whole lot for him either.
Nah, yeah. That's great. Oh, man. All right.
Okay, ready to move on to Cleveland?
I am.
On to Cleveland. Okay, they are 37-40, 6-4 in their last 10, 18-19 against teams with a winning record. 2 games back in the division in second place, 5 games back in the wild card. Wild card is probably not going to happen for anybody in this division. They're going to have to shoot for the division title to make the playoffs.
Yep.
So if you're Cleveland, are you buying or selling?
Well, I don't know. Because if you're going to buy, what are you going to buy?
Right. And what are you going to buy with?
And if you're going to trade for pieces, the only thing people want from Cleveland right now is their pitching. And they're not really going to part with Cal Quantrill, but they might do it with Shane Bieber. And so it's like, what are you giving up? And it feels like robbing Peter to pay Paul. And I don't think they want to do that.
That's exactly what it is. I don't think they want to either. Honestly, I feel like they're going to sell.
I think so too, but
I think that's what they're going to do. They're not going to. Yeah. They're going to keep Tristan McKenzie and they're going to keep Cal Quantrill and they're going to build around those guys. I think that they'll probably keep. They'll probably keep Josh Naylor around.
Probably
I think they like him. But other than that, I think that they're just going to be like, you know what? This year did not go as planned. I think that team peaked last year, and we got to give it another go, another way. I think that's what's going to end up happening with them. And I think it makes sense to do that because that team offensively is just flat out anemic. They've relied way too much on their pitching, and they're going to have to take a different approach because like their pitching is pretty good, but it's not that good, right? Or else they'd be better.
Well, and don't forget about Stephen Kwan as a piece to build around.
Right. Yes.
He's another guy you can't lose.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I don't know. Fascinating. Let's talk about Detroit, though.
Okay, 33-43, 6-4 in their last 10. Look out. But they're 14-19 against teams with a record over 500 and 5-5 or 5.5 games back, 5-5, 5.5 games back in the division, 8.5 games back in the wild card. What are you doing with the Tigers?
Sell. Yeah. Sell. And I know they've got pieces they could move, but the one that I'm most interested in is Eduardo Rodriguez. He's a starting pitcher for them. Because pitching's where you got to have everybody's going to want pitching. So,
right. Pitching's what wins. So everybody's going to want it. Yeah.
For sure.
I think you're absolutely right.
There's probably
that's
more,
the move.
But he's the guy.
That's the move right there. That's the guy who you sell off and you bring back several farmhands and those guys are
correct
part of your future.
Yeah.
Okay, White Sox 34-45, 4-6 in their last 10, 20-33 against teams with a winning record, 6 games back in the division for 4th place. We're not going to talk about the Royals. So this is it for the AL Central. 9 games back in the wild card. Buying or selling is the White Sox. I think it's pretty clear they're going to be selling. They're going to be selling off Giolito, probably Tim Anderson. Those guys have expiring contracts. They're going to be giving somebody a rental. And they're going to get a pretty good haul back from wherever they go.
Yasmani Grandal, Kopech, Middleton, Graveman. They got a lot of pieces they can move that a lot of teams are going to want. The funny thing is that we've been saying this forever. The White Sox, they should not be bad. They certainly should not be this bad. And there's got to be a chemistry thing or a clubhouse thing or something. I don't know what's going on, but maybe it's developmental on the coaching staff. Something's crazy, but it could be a terrific situation for the rest of the league and thereby for the White Sox if they play this the right way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They could get set up solid
for today,
if they sold all those guys off.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even Joe Kelly, if they traded him off to somebody, because he's a solid arm in anybody's bullpen. So
every time.
Yeah. So I think what they do is they keep Eloy Jimenez, they keep Luis Robert, and that's just about it.
Before we move on, I got to talk about the Royals.
Okay.
Just a little bit, because Scott Barlow is another arm that people are going to pick up if they can. And Aroldis Chapman is back to 99 miles per hour. He does have some control issues. It goes a little screwy every once in a while. And he's been walking dudes, but he's still got gas. And I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up on another team heading that direction.
Probably will. It sounds like they're not going to move Salvador Perez at all. He's sticking around.
He's a lifer.
So, they're not moving him. But, you could see Aroldis Chapman end up with a contender.
And Scott Barlow deserves to be playing for somebody else.
Yeah, I think you're right. Spot on. Okay, let's go to the AL West.
Okay.
Start with the Rangers, 47-35-5 in their last 10, 20-20 against teams with the winning record. Leading the division by 5.5 games is all, Brig. Despite everybody else's struggles in this division, 5.5 game lead. What are you doing if you're the Rangers?
You're calling Kansas City and you're picking up Scott Barlow and Aroldis Chapman. That's what you're doing.
You're right. Because you don't need bats. You got the best offense in baseball.
You don't need bats.
Any bats. Yep.
And you don't necessarily like another starting rotator would be great. Like another arm in the rotation would be great.
Because you don't have DeGrom. Yeah. And
that's honestly, why.
No, you know what you do? You go get Giolito. You go get a rental because you're going to get DeGrom backs next year. You go get a rental.
Bingo. Yep.
Yeah.
You go pick up Giolito or Lynn or one of these other guys, and then you push Aroldis Chapman into like a high leverage middle relief situation. Don't let him.
I think he's your setup guy.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. He's not your closer anymore.
No,
Don't put
not
him
your
in there.
closer.
That's what you do. That's exactly what you do.
I think you're
If you're
spot on.
Texas.
Yeah, go get it. Go get yourself a rental pitcher. The
Yep.
Astros 42-36, 3-7 in their last 10, 20-24 against teams with a winning record, 5.5 back in the division for second place. They are a half a game up in the wild card. What are you doing if you're the Astros here, Brig?
Analysis.
Analysis.
I don't know. I have no idea. I think that they're in a good enough spot, but the problem is if you pull in, first of all, you got to get rid of Abreu. He is awful. So if you're going to sell anybody, it has to start with Abreu. And if not, if nobody will pick him up, that's fine. Just send him somewhere else. Put him at the spring training facility or make him a coach for a day or something. I don't care, but he can't be on the starting roster anymore. He's bad.
So who's going to play first base for you, though?
I don't
you gotta go
know.
Get a first baseman?
You got to go get a first baseman if you're going to do that. And honestly, I don't know that they need disruption anywhere else on the roster. They need help, but they got to get rid of this dead weight first. So I'd get rid of Abreu, bring in a first baseman from somewhere, or find a guy who used to play first base and see if it's going to work, because you got to do something. But they're not broken. That's the problem.
Right. And the other thing too is, like, honestly, I would go get, if I'm the Astros, I would go get Yasmani Grandal.
Yeah. See, that's great.
You've got to get a catcher who can hit, because Martin Maldonado has been a black hole on that lineup for years, and it's finally really having an impact.
It is.
So
You're right.
You've got to get another bat in that lineup. Somebody who can hit with guys on base, right? Just get a base hit.
Just that's it, man. You're right.
That being said, I hope they don't.
Well, we'll see.
AL West. Anyway, okay. Let's move on to the Angels. 42-37, 4-6 in their last 10, despite a blowout win. 17-25 against teams with a winning record. 6 games back in the division for third place. 1 game back in the wild card. What are the Angels going to do?
The problem is they're only 1 game back in the wild card. That's the problem. Because otherwise, if you just look at it clean, you just sell. You just are selling. But somehow the dice fell where they're this close, and you can't throw in the towel.
Shohei Ohtani.
You just can't. I don't know. I do not know what to do about Anaheim. I have no idea.
So this is the thing that's funny, is that I feel like Ohtani is playing to not have a reason to leave. Right? Like he's told him, like, give me a reason. Basically told him, give me a reason not to leave. Make a playoff push. Make it competitive. Let's play competitive games down the stretch so that I don't have a reason to leave. Well, nobody else has done it, but he sure is.
He is.
Right?
Yeah.
And they've dealt with some injuries. Neto is out. They're back to David Fletcher at shortstop, which is not a great situation for them. There's a reason Neto is there.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And I think I haven't seen. You know who's out is what's his name? He played for the Yankees, and he was in Minnesota, and now he's in Anaheim.
Oh, Urshela fractured his pelvis.
Yes. Holy cow. So he's out, and he was
devastating.
He was a valid utility player.
Consistent.
Really valuable for them. So I don't know if you need to go get just another infielder, just a guy who can play infield to help fill in some of those holes, because I don't know how long those guys are going to be out. And Rendon, you don't know if he's going to get hurt and not be able to play tomorrow,
right.
So
yeah.
I think that's mostly what they need. I always talk about the Angels pitching. The Angels pitching has been mostly fine this year, but you've got to get a consistent bat, because aside from Trout and Ohtani, there is no consistency in that offense. Absolutely.
Well, and between me, you, and the phone line, you do not want Trout to be your only offensive capable player going into the playoffs, because he has moment-itis. So don't let that be the case.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right.
He can't carry that offense. Nope.
I absolutely
Not
agree
in
with
high
you.
leverage problems.
Right. Yep. 100% agree with you on that. Okay, let's go on and talk about my Mariners. Currently 37-39, 4-6 in their last 10, 14-28 against teams over 500, 9.5 games back in the division. Good enough for fourth place, only because the A's are there. And then only 4.5 games back in the wild card, which again is a problem because that's not
it
that
is.
far out.
It's not.
So before we get to me, Brig, what would you do with the Mariners?
I'm buying.
You're buying. Okay, what are you
I'm
doing if you're
buying.
buying?
I'm buying. You need bats with pop is what you need. So
Yes, absolutely you do.
you need a DH problem solver.
Right.
Cal Raleigh needs help behind the plate.
Yep.
And if you can get, because I feel like the pitching's okay. It's not
Pitching's
great.
great. Pitching is great.
Is it great? Because
Pitching is absolutely great. They have one
Okay.
of the best pitching staffs in the league. In the last like 2 weeks, I don't think they've given up more than the starting pitchers have not given up more than a couple runs total.
So is it the bullpen that struggles?
The
What's going on?
bullpen is shallow.
There
So
you go.
like you get like 3 days in a row out of them where it's like really really good, and then they're spent, and then you have a game where it's like, well, we're gonna lose because they're gonna give a bunch of runs late.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because
Okay.
this is one of the problems the bullpen has. They're holding on to Chris Flexen for low leverage situations, but the
Right.
fact that they're like, this is our low leverage guy to come in and eat innings when the game is out of reach, you shouldn't have that guy on your roster. There's a
Yeah.
reason teams have a position player who pitches in those spots. He is the team's position player who pitches, but he's a
Right.
pitcher, and it's a
Right.
problem. He shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Makes me crazy.
So tell me, what if somebody came to you and said, "We want Marco Gonzalez," what would you do?
Yes.
That's what I would say.
Yes. I mean, part of it is he's hurt,
Sure.
so you can have him, right? But he's also he doesn't have it anymore, right?
Okay.
So like
All right.
my dream scenario is Marco Gonzalez and Chris Flexen, and we'll say like I'm gonna go ahead and just throw in Bryce Miller, just because a team's gonna want a great pitcher, and the Mariners have a bunch of them right now because they still
Yeah.
have Emerson Hancock in the minors, who is like right up there with those guys as far as
Right.
quality goes. So either Bryce Miller or Emerson Hancock goes with Flexen and Gonzalez over to like I'm gonna say St. Louis for Lars Nootbaar. Done deal, automatic. I would do it
Just
today.
Lars.
Just Lars, just because you need that bat so much, and that's a
Yeah, you
lot.
do.
That's a lot to give up,
It
right?
is.
But you're clearing out your position player pitching. You're clearing out Marco Gonzalez, who, and granted, I'll tell you this, he has had a lot of quality starts this year, but
Right.
they're so stressful. They're so stressful. There's a reason we made the
Okay.
Not Sexy shirt last year because it's so stressful
Right.
watching him.
No, I know. I know. Yeah.
And any outing he can implode and give up like 8 in an inning, right? Because he's on the
Yeah.
brink of it every single time.
That
So
sucks.
it's fine. So then you clear that spot and you bring up Emerson Hancock in the place of Bryce Miller if you traded Bryce Miller, or you keep Bryce Miller there if you traded Emerson Hancock. You've already got your 5-man rotation because Marco Gonzalez has been injured.
Yeah.
And then
That's true.
you bring in Lars Nootbaar, have him play right field, put Teoscar Hernandez at the DH position because he's a minus defensively, but he's coming around offensively.
Okay.
And Lars Nootbaar, I feel like, is a really good player who can take that spot and thrive offensively. That's my fix.
What
And
about
you've got
what?
control.
Yeah. What if you could pick up Juan Soto?
Oh, there have been a lot of scenarios run through a text feed about that very move.
Yeah.
And a lot of them involve Emerson Hancock or Bryce Miller Miller. And throwing in, I mean, you got to throw in somebody who's really good. I mean, maybe you could probably send back Taylor Trammell.
Okay.
You might be able to get maybe like, man, I don't want to say Jose Caballero just because he's been really good, but you might have to as part of that deal, you know?
Yeah. I just think if the Padres are going to start selling and you need an outfield DH guy.
And so here's the thing too, if they're looking to clear money too, they could take Tom Murphy as well, because they don't have a great everyday catcher. Tom Murphy is a better situation for them to work with their pitchers.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be expiring as well. So then you've got money freed up. So, but I guess
There
you've
you
got
go.
Gray Sanchez, who's been better. But anyway, it's tough. It's not. I don't feel like it's an easy fix. So,
we have to talk about Oakland.
Okay, Oakland is going to be selling most likely.
Yeah, they're going to be selling, and I think the two things I want to see them do is one, sell the team, and two,
There's that.
Before they do that, Jace Peterson has got to move somewhere else where he's second base shortstop. He's that middle infield utility guy. There are teams like the Angels who need a middle infield utility type option to platoon around a little bit, and Jace could be a great option for them. I don't know that they'll do it inside the division, but it could happen. So
anybody needs a catcher, Langoliers is a good one with years of control too.
That's true. He is a good one.
Yeah.
They keep saying they're never going to do anything with him, but it's too bad because he could really benefit from a move.
He really could, just like Sean Murphy did. But anyway.
Should we take a quick break and come back and talk about National League?
Let's do it.
All right, baseball family, let's talk about the National League this time. Take a deep breath because it's going to come hard and fast. Got the National League East started first. The Braves, they are currently at 50 wins, 27 losses. They're 9-1 in their last 10, 23-16 over teams with a winning record. They lead their division by 6 games. Brad, are you buying or selling if you're Atlanta?
I'm holding. I'm not doing a darn thing if I'm the Braves. Got the best team in baseball. You let it ride.
Wow.
Best and most balanced team in baseball. You don't need to make a single move. You got a World Series team on your field every single day.
You don't think they need left field support? If they were going to make one move, you wouldn't put that move in left field?
What would they do to get left field support?
I don't know. I don't know how they would do it.
I don't feel like the Braves, like they might have somebody they could move, right? Like they might have a young pitcher somewhere in their farm system who is like, some team is like licking their chops over. But at the same time, though, I don't necessarily feel like the Braves have anything or anyone who they would want to move to make up for that. At this point, they're just like, it's fine, right? The Marlins are not going to catch us. The Phillies are not going to catch us.
I think you're right.
I think we're set. I honestly think if I'm the Braves, I'm holding because it's been working so far and it's been getting better. Honestly,
it has been getting better
because I feel like the Rays have kind of come down. The Rangers have kind of come down. They're losing right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
But the Braves are just escalating. They're getting better as the season goes.
You're right.
So
yeah, you're right.
I'm not doing a darn thing if I'm the Braves.
Okay, let's move on to Miami. The Marlins are 45-34, 7-3 in their last 10. They are a flat 500 against teams who are 500 or better. They're 6 games back in their division, puts them in second place, but they are 1 game up in the wild card. What are you doing if you're Miami?
Absolutely buying, and I'm looking for a bullpen arm. Starting pitching's pretty good. Sandy Alcantara, like, it's weird how much he's been getting roughed up this year. Mind-boggling, in fact.
Yeah.
So I'd have to like count on him coming around, right? You'd have to count on that. You're obviously not going to move him, but you've got to get a middle reliever in there. And I wonder if Joe Kelly's your guy.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm doing if I'm Miami, because you've got the bats, you've got the firepower. You just got to be able to hold a lead, and because that's something they've struggled with this year.
Yeah, you're right. For me, I would move. I need somebody helping with third base while Gene Segura is on the injured list. They've got John Birdie in there right now, and they've got Yuli Gurriel is available, but I don't love that.
I don't want him at third base. No way.
Garrett Hampson is another guy listed at third base for them. I'm saying, for my money, go get Jaime Candelario if you can.
It's a solid move.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, go get him.
I don't know if it'll be possible. I don't know what you have to give up to do it, but that's the one.
Because that's always the
gap.
issue, right? You've got a good team that things are clicking. You're like, okay, we got a hole we got to fill, but what do we have to give up to fill it?
Because their
creating
outfield,
other holes.
Their outfield's full.
Really good.
It's good, but it's still full of injured guys. You got Jazz Chisholm's injured again. Avisail Garcia is injured. So they need help all the way around.
They're filling in pretty well, though. Like Brian De La Cruz has been really good. Jesus Sanchez has been awesome. Jose Soler, of course, have been unreal. So I feel like they're fine offensively and defensively in the outfield. I think that third base is probably a spot that needs a fill, and I don't know how long he's out for, so it might not be that big of a need. But I think middle relief is their big problem. I've seen them blow several leads this year that shouldn't have been blown.
I agree. Okay, let's move on to where are we?
The Phillies.
The Phillies are 40-37. They're 7-3 in their last 10, 19-27 against teams with a winning record. That puts them 10 games behind Atlanta. That's third place. 3 games back in the wild card race right now. If you're Philly, are you buying or selling?
Again, I'm going to hold with Philly. I think they've got a good enough team. They just started really slow, had a really bad start that they're still recovering from, and I think they're headed in the right direction. Honestly, I really think that's it. Is that everything just had to get clicking. Maybe you go get Paul Goldschmidt. I don't know what you have to give up to get him, but maybe that's how you fill that hole at first base and not have Bryce Harper play first base. Yeah. Because not only are you getting a Gold Glover at first base, you're getting a Silver Slugger. Who can help offensively. So maybe that's the move, because I've seen that's been discussed a lot, and I saw something that said that deal was gaining traction. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think if you're going to make a move, that's the one. Just for this year, you got to fill the hole at first base.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Mostly just hold. I couldn't think of any other thing they could do, but you bring up a really great point about first base. All right, let's move on to. Let's move on to the Mets. They are 35-42. That 4-6 in their last 10. 19-24 against teams over 500. They are a whopping 15 games back in their division.
So weird.
Can't believe they're still only 8 games back in the wild card. That doesn't mathematically add up in my brain. I'm disappointed that math works. So for those of you who are actuaries at home, come please help me understand how that makes any sense at all. Brad, if you're Mets, what are you doing?
I think you have to sell.
Yes.
Right? You have to.
Yes.
You've got to move some guys, because you're like, we're paying a whole bunch of money. It's not working, because it's like, what do you do if you've dumped a bunch of money into your business and it's not returning? You gotta get out of there.
You gotta change. Change the system.
There are so many teams that would be like, yeah, I don't care if it's an albatross. Give me Justin Verlander. Give me Max Scherzer.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Think of what would happen if the Rangers were able to pull either of those guys for the rest of the season.
Be trouble. I mean, they've both been inconsistent, but if they get in a spot where they can feel consistent, you're in trouble.
Or if they just
league's in trouble.
If they just they're the sandbag guy on the rotation while they're waiting for DeGrom, and then they move to the bullpen in their later years anyway.
I don't think either of them would be willing to do that.
I know, but for a World Series ring?
But really though, I think if you get them on that pitching staff where there's not quite so much pressure for them to not give up more than 2 runs,
because they have so much run support down in Arlington right now.
Yeah. I think that's the move, because I don't want that to happen. Don't scare me.
I don't either. I'm sorry. I don't think it's going to happen. To be honest with you,
I do think the Mets are going to have to sell somebody off, though. They're going to be
Tommy Pham. It's going to be Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham is one of the first things they're going to try and offload. They're going to have to stick somebody else in there with him. But in the event that somebody is willing to make that deal, maybe the pressure is part of the problem, and he could come alive for somebody who needs.
Is Yoenis Cespedes still a Met somewhere? What's that guy
Probably. Who knows?
They'll try to offload him. We didn't get rid of this money.
Any idea?
What?
And isn't Jacoby Ellsbury still hanging around New York? He's offload him too.
Yeah, there
Just
you go.
send him in the next trip. Nobody ever sees him anyway.
They're going to try to nickel and dime their way back down without getting rid of their stars. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I know. It's not going to work.
You know who's going to go is Jeff McNeil.
Yeah.
He'll get traded.
No, he's not. He's going to retire in a New York uniform. You know he is. Okay, the only reason I'm going to talk about Washington is because Heimer Candelario is there, and he's a big-time outs above replacement guy, outs above average, rather, and he's got some pop. And even though he's a rookie, that's your third base on the market right now. I would love to see
I don't think it is, honestly. I think they're going to hold on to him because of all the years of control with him, and he's affordable. He would be a great move for somebody, but I think they're going to hold on to him for those reasons.
Yeah, I think so too. But so stupid because he has a chance to really help somebody. Okay, let's move on to the NL Central.
Okay.
The Reds, the red hot Reds, the big red machine in 2023. They are 41-37, 8-2 in their last 10, 18 over 20 with teams against 500. They lead the division by half a game. What do you do, Brad, if you are the Reds?
So I think the Reds need to go get a starting pitcher. They need to get one more starting pitcher. I don't
like Luis Castillo.
I bet they would love to.
Oh,
but the thing is that this is the only thing with that, Brig, is that like it's a catch-22 because it's like, oh man, we'd love to have Luis Castillo right now, but Jake Fraley's killing it. We're gonna call up Marte soon. I think he's actually on the roster right now.
Is he?
So it's like, no, I think they go get it. Gosh, I think if they continue to win and they're sitting in first place come the All-Star game, I think they go out and they get a rental. Giolito, Lynn, get somebody like that.
Dylan Cease, maybe something.
Dylan Cease, maybe. Yeah, go get somebody who can help with that pitching staff because they've got pretty good pitchers, but they need one more.
I agree. And the bats are hot right now.
So hot. So Hansel.
So Hansel. Okay, let's talk about the Brew Crew. The Brewers are 40-37, 6-4 in their last 10, 17-23 against teams with a winning record. They're 1/2 a game back in the division. That puts them 3 games back in the wild card race. Again, this is a situation where if you don't win the division, it's going to be tough to stay in the wild card situation, but it's possible. What do you do if you're the Brew Crew, Brad?
I don't know. Honestly, I think they need some pitching. Probably that tends to be the problem with most places, but they probably need some offense too. It's just weird. It's kind of like what we talked about with the Red Sox. I don't know what to do with them.
That's how I feel too.
Because the formula they've had has worked up until, and to say that it hasn't worked this year would be wrong because they're still over 500. They're sitting contending in the division, contending in the wild card. Right. So maybe you just hold and hope that things get back to the way they're supposed to be.
I'm going to say I agree with you, but I'm also going to say I want them to hold and hope they know something we don't.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, hold on. This guy's coming up through the system. He's in AAA right now, or whatever. Something like that isn't quite as active on our radar would be great. And I think something like that could put them over the line. So
I think it could too. But you know what they would send if they did make a trade? The beer, eh?
The beer. Of course they would. We'll give you some beer. You got a starting pitcher who gets you a lifetime supply of brewskis. All right, let's talk about the Cubs. The Cubs are 37-39. They're 8-2 in their last 10, which is a huge surprise. They're 17-28 against teams over 500. 3 games back in the division. They're 5.5 games back in the wild card. Brad, if you're Northside Chicago, what's your plan?
Got to get a pitcher. I'm buying because things have been coming around. You've got some pretty good pieces there. Patrick Wisdom. Is it Christopher Morel?
Yeah.
I feel like they've got some pretty good pieces, and maybe Cody Bellinger is your trade bait, right? because he hasn't been great. He hasn't been Cody Bellinger of old, but he hasn't been Cody Bellinger of the last 2 years either.
Right. He's floating in the middle
he's
right
your
now.
trade bait, and you go get a pitcher to help out with things, and because they're kind of coming around. Like I said, like 8-2 in their last 10. It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
They looked pretty good. They looked pretty good in London.
Yeah, they did. I'd like to. Well, but they played anyway.
Yeah, they played the Cards. You're right.
Okay, here's and they lost one of those games. I'm not convinced that the Cubs are involved anymore. I think that there's a chance they could come around and spoil things for Milwaukee, but I don't think they're going to spoil things for Cincinnati. I think the Cubs in this situation, if they're buying, they're just doing it to be petty or to set up next year. That's it.
That's the move. They're not getting a rental. They're not getting a rental. They're going to get somebody they have control with. Yeah, I should have been more specific when I said that, because they're not playing necessarily for this year. They'll play to do well this year and build momentum for next year, but they're not playing to win a World Series this year. No, I think you're right with that.
However, if somebody comes knocking and they've got just the right deal, I think that they could move Julian Merriweather and or Marcus Stroman, depending on the long-term strategy of the club. Just depending.
Stroman could be a good move.
It could be a good move. And those are great arms. So who knows? I'm just saying it's going to depend on the deal and what the club's long-term strategy is. But I could see either of those happening. All right. Poor Pittsburgh. Boy. Okay. Man, 35-42. They're 1-9 in their last 10, 17-24 against teams with winning records. Somehow they're now back to 5.5 games back in fourth place. They're 8 games back in the wild card. What happened, and what do you do about it?
I don't know if you can, right? Because you've seen what this team can do.
Yeah.
That they can put together a really good stretch of ball, but apparently they can also put together a really bad stretch of ball, just like everybody. We weren't between the two of us, we weren't expecting. We thought they were going to be for real because, like we said, got some good players on that team. They should be good.
Yeah.
But I think what it comes down to is their problem is pitching.
Oh, I agree.
So, here's an inconsistent offense, but really it's pitching is their big problem.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. This is maybe a hot take.
Okay.
I think if the Pirates put together a decent trade deadline, that they could scoop up the Cubs and the Brewers and find themselves back in the race.
I think you're absolutely right.
And I don't think the Cubs or the Brewers are as capable of holding their position if Pittsburgh does really well at the deadline.
Yeah.
So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm buying like crazy. And I don't know what I'm buying right now. I'd have to look way deeper into it, but I'm buying.
I think I would buy a starting pitcher and a solid reliever. A really good setup man, if not a closer.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm buying with, to be completely honest with you, just because I don't know what they have in their farm system. Because you can't get rid of what's at the big league level, because if you do, you're not winning anything.
Right.
Because they're really thin.
I think it is thin. Yeah.
But yeah, they've got that young catcher though, who I think is going to help things.
Yeah.
Henry Davis,
Rowan Gardner. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy. You're right.
It is Henry Davis.
Yeah. I know. It was like it came to me as I said it, but anyway, yeah. I think I think you're right though. I think they could absolutely overcome the Cubs and the Brewers if they make the right move.
Yeah. I don't know what that means for Cincinnati.
They need to be buying though. You're right.
They need to buy. Okay, the Cardinals, they're 32-45, 5 out of 5 in their last 10, 17-28 against teams over 500. They're 8.5 games back in the division. They're 11 games back in the wild card. We've already answered this question.
Sell it all. Sell it all.
As much as
you got to get rid of. You got to deal Arenado. Maybe Arenado goes to Miami.
Whoa.
You got to get rid of Goldschmidt.
I don't think Arenado wants to go anywhere.
I don't think he does either, and I think he has a no trade clause. But what if though they're like, we want to send you to a contender because we're not contending this year, and we need the assets we get back, and he's like, I can go play for a World Series somewhere. I don't know that Miami would be the move that he would want to make.
No, I don't think so.
But
who needs a third baseman? Miami needs one for sure.
Miami does, yeah.
Who else?
The Rangers, maybe?
I don't know who's playing for third
I
base
don't
for
know
the
either,
Rangers.
but
But that was my thought as well.
shipping
Oh,
out
you know who
Arenado.
needs a third baseman? The Yankees. Because of
Oh, there you
stupid
go.
Josh Donaldson. Duh.
Yeah, that would be the move. No, the Rangers. I was thinking the Rangers, but they don't need one. They don't need a third baseman. They have Josh Young, so they're good.
Josh Young and Ezekiel Duran is behind him, so it's fine.
They could use a DH though in Texas.
For sure, that wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings. And Arenado
Yeah, I
could
think that would work.
hybrid out as
We
a
could do
DH and a platoon guy for whatever. Okay, all right, that's interesting. But yeah, sell everything if you're in
Cardinals,
in that spot
for sure.
Let's move on to the NL West. Did we miss somebody
in the Central? No, that's all 5 in the Central.
That's what I thought. Okay, good.
Yeah.
The D-backs. Holy crap! I can't believe I'm saying this. The D-backs are in first place, and they are 47-32. They're 6-4 in their last 10.
I believe the only team who hasn't been swept this year.
Ooh, oh man,
good for them, right?
Yeah, seriously. Okay, 47-32, 6-4 in their last 10. That'll get it done. 21-21 against teams over 500. They lead the division by a positive of 2.5 games, and it is a good day to be a Diamondbacks fan right now. So, if you're them, Brad, what you doing?
You got to get one more starting pitcher.
That's right.
That's the answer. That's what you need right there. Is you just need to get one more starting pitcher. That offense is great. That offense is so good, but they're not going to be on every single day. And Zach Gallen can't be the guy, obviously, every single day.
The only one. So, yeah.
So yeah, they need to get one more starting pitcher in there, and I think they'll be okay. Maybe a reliever. I was going to say
I don't think a bullpen arm wouldn't hurt anything. But is it necessary?
Yeah. And another solid bullpen arm will never hurt, but I think you need a starting pitcher more than you need a bullpen guy.
Yeah, I agree. I had the same note.
Yeah. If they get that starting pitcher, look out.
And there's a lot of them that are potential trade chips, like a lot. This is going to be a great. It could.
You know what it is. You know what it is. Is the D-backs are going to call in a favor from somebody. Hey, we shipped off one of our top prospects to you. Calling in.
I don't know if it works that way, but
I don't know that it does either. But they've shipped off plenty of prospects. They should be able to make that call.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right, San Francisco. The Giants are 44-34 somehow. This is so surprising because they were floating to the bottom of the barrel. And last year's implosion was just embarrassing. Anyway, the Giants 44-34. They're 8-2 in their last 10. That puts them 24-17 against teams over 500. They're 2.5 games behind Arizona. They're second place in the division, but they are still a half a game ahead in the wild card race. Oh boy, Brad. What do you think?
The Giants are. This makes me feel like last year was more of an anomaly than the year before was, when they won 111 games, something like that. 100. Anyway, whatever it was that they won when they won the division 2 years ago, it makes me feel like last year was the anomaly, and they've got things figured out. Yeah. And I think that if you're cruising this direction, like you're knocking on the door in the division with the D-backs, who've been the class of that division so far this year, I think you just keep riding it and you hold. If the right deal comes available and you're like, okay, maybe there's a reliever who we could use, maybe we could shore up the starting pitching with one more guy, I think that's what you do. But at this point, like, you're cruising.
At this point, no. At this point, you go pick up Yasmani Grandal, or you ask Oakland for Langoliers.
Shane Langoliers.
Yeah, you could do one of those too, and I think that changes everything for them.
Oh man, if they got Langoliers, that'd be look out. Look out, man. Arizona, holy cow.
But I think you take that opportunity to move Joey Bart down. Joey Bart has dealt with a bunch of injuries, and if you get somebody who's consistent and awesome, that would be a terrific move.
I wonder, you know who is like the most surprising shortstop in the league is Brandon Crawford.
100%.
He doesn't look like a shortstop. He should be playing third base by the way he looks. So I wonder if they want to bring in a shortstop who has probably a little bit more range than he does.
He's still holding his own, though.
I know he is, and it's crazy. It's so weird. I've never seen. I don't want to say it's like Mo Vaughn playing shortstop because he's not that big.
He's
but like,
he's a
I was
stocky
shocked
dude.
the other day. I thought he was DHing. I was like, this dude's like, he got big over the last year and a half. What happened?
Oh yeah. Well, the cool thing about San Francisco is their pitching has really come together, and I think that's been a huge benefit.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to LA, because the Dodgers are 43-34. They're 5 out of 5 in their last 10, 22-21 against teams over 500. 3 games back in the division. They are at 0 in the wild card race right now. That last spot. If you're LA, are you buying, selling, or holding? What are you going to do?
If you want to win, you've got to move one guy and bring in several pieces that work, I feel like. Mookie Betts playing the infield is not working for him. He was better overall in right field. And to say that, I feel like is weird because he's an infielder, truly. Came up as a second baseman, but I wonder if playing shortstop has messed with him a little bit. Maybe he's the guy you move. I don't know. You don't want to move Freddie Freeman, but you need to bring in a pitcher. I think is one of the big moves that needs to be made. You need to bring in a pitcher. You've got plenty of good talent. You've got plenty of talent on that team. I think that's the one. Maybe you move Mookie Betts and get several pitchers and a shortstop.
Yeah, you could pull in a lot for Mookie Betts. And there are holes in the league in the outfield, for sure.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting thing just because like they are 43-34, right? And they're the Dodgers who haven't made who if you beat them in the World Series, they're going to go get your guy from you has been what's been going on the last few years. So they've just added more talent as they've gone. But for some reason, it just isn't working, right? Yeah. And like we said, there could be some kind of stink in the clubhouse that they just need to clear it all out. They need to tear it down because that's the way it goes sometimes. But I don't know, maybe you move one of those catchers for some other talent because you got two pretty good catchers there.
Yeah. Which one do you move though? That's the question.
You get a pretty good piece back, I think, for Austin Barnes. Honestly, keep Will Smith.
Keep Will Smith is what I would say too. Okay, let's move to the Friars. The San Diego Padres are 37-41. That puts them at 4-6 in their last 10, 22-25 against teams over 500. 9.5 games back in the division. They are 6.5 games back in the wild card. We already said it. They're going to sell. They should be selling. Stupid.
Because if it's not working by now, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I agree.
They haven't shown any sense of moving in the right direction. They need to sell. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the Rockies.
Honestly, I don't feel like the Rockies have anybody to move.
They do.
Who's that?
They do, actually. They have Chase Anderson.
They do. You're right.
Randall Grichuk, Brent Sutter, and Kyle Freeland all could move.
I don't know what their as well.
Yeah, I don't know what their contract lengths look like or what the stipulations are, but if I was looking for pitching, I would look to Colorado. If I needed an outfielder, I would go after Randall Grichuk.
There you go. Yeah.
That's what I would do.
If you need a third baseman, Ryan McMahon. Maybe that's where Miami goes.
There you go. It's possible.
So, it is possible.
Anyway, baseball family, we want to know what you think because that's what we do. So drop the comments in the comments section, especially if you're on YouTube. And by the way, that is the best place to find us. Obviously, you can keep listening to us wherever you do consume your podcasts, but YouTube is the best place to find us in long form, short form, and medium form content because that's where we put everything. So if you're on YouTube and you're watching this, go ahead and drop your comments in the thing. And tell us what you think. And are we way off base? Did we offend you by telling you that your team needs to buy or sell? If so, we want to hear about it.
Yeah, for sure. And make sure you subscribe as well. If you're on YouTube, drop us a like and a subscribe so you don't miss anything. Like Brig said, we are dropping all kinds of medium length content all the time. The big show drops every Tuesday. We do the lives on Thursdays, and then we have stuff that we drop every other day of the week as well. So subscribe so you don't miss any of it. And while you're on the internet, don't forget to head over to ChinookSeedery.com, where you can use code BTPOD at checkout to save 10% on your order and get the best seeds ever. Support the show, support your mouth. That's ChinookSeedery.com. You can thank us later. The baseball family, thank you so much for joining us this week. We will catch you next week.